live from the edge of the Atlantic breeze and the heartbeat of Chanticleer country. The tide is steady in Conway tonight, but there's movement beneath the surface. The bats are stacked like cargo in the hull, the hardwood still warm from battle. And somewhere out there in the dark, another opponent is drifting a little too close to our waters. I'm Chili, your harbor host, keeper of the lantern and stirrer of the storm. Alongside me, the first mate of football ferocity, Joe, he's the Mansfield Marauder. TD, built like a lighthouse and twice as loud. And charting the course with numbers sharper than a shipbuilder's tools, the admiral of analytics himself, Info Joe. Tonight, we read the wind, we measure the swell, we talk baseball with the patience of fishermen and the precision of captains. We scan the horizon for hoops headlines, and if there's breaking news, we'll fire the cannon. So coil the ropes, secure the rigging, and lean into the rail because the strut doesn't drift, it sails. Tonight's show is brought to you by LT Grace Electric. Maybe you've heard of them. They're a locally owned electric service licensed in both North and South Carolina. They have provided residential and commercial electric needs for more than 38 years, 21 in the Palmetto State, the official electric company of the Strut podcast and huge CCU supporters. Call LT Grace Electric today at 843 504 6066. Joe, did you know you were an admiral?
I did not know that. That's news to me, but I appreciate that.
I don't know if our guest does know. Joe did serve in the military, Big Donkey. Joe, how many years did you serve?
33.
33 years.
I can't think of anything I've done for 33. Well, I haven't done anything for 33 years yet, but thank you for your service. Once I can think of something I can do for 33 years, I'll let you know because that's impressive. That is impressively done.
Well, thank you.
Big Donkey. Joe, how many years did you serve?
That's us in the background.
I was gonna
So
say, wait a
tonight,
minute now.
joining us is the big donkey, and we were trying to decide what we call you. Stephen Shock, the big donkey, is joining us tonight, and I was trying to figure it out in pre-show. And do I call you Mr. Donkey? Do I call you the Shock Man, the Shocker? I don't know what to call you. So, first off, stellar playing career at a couple different places, and now you're covering college baseball. We're going to welcome you, the big donkey, Stephen Shock, to the Strut.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I feel like after that introduction, I should be wearing my pirate costume or some sort of sailor costume. I feel very underdressed at this point, and it's like I got the costume. Why am I not wearing it? You don't get many opportunities to bust it out. But thank you guys for having me. I'm fired up to talk some ball.
Yeah, man.
Well, it's good to have you. And just in preparation on bringing you on, I kind of read your Wikipedia page, and I'll kind of start off
Uh-oh.
the questioning here. And I want to ask you a couple of quick things, real quick, just a couple of quick fire questions. There's a part on your Wikipedia page, and it says, and the I guess the subheading is media career, and it
Mhm.
talked about you giving a interview while UVA was in the College World Series in 2021, and your interview went viral. And I guess an ACC network reporter talked to you, and
Oh,
someone offered you some Dippin' Dots. You want to talk about that?
dude, it was epic. That was great.
Yeah, so when you're playing in a regional environment, you're going to hear a lot of things. And, my biggest piece of advice to players is, hey, just, let it be like water off your back and you're a duck, don't let it get to you. So, they asked me, hey, what were you thinking out there? What's going on? What's the vibe? And I was like, the only thing that really stuck with me, the fans said, was someone offered me Dippin' Dots if I blew the game, which, and I just kind of went into it because this was before the days at NIL by about a week. I think a week after I gave this interview, NIL was passed, which, that's kind of unfortunate timing wise. But, Dippin' Dots at college baseball games, I think they're a great snack, but for some reason they were $7 at the time. Nowadays they're probably like $10. I haven't been to a South Carolina game since, believe it or not, just because, people are pretty mean about how I existed. But I imagine the price is probably around that $10 to $12 range, just something ridiculous. They say it's the ice cream of the future. It's been the ice cream of the future since I was 2 years old. I'm 29 now. The future's now. The time has come. Dippin' Dots is, they took the interview and they're like, oh, this is awesome. The guy talked about how cool Dippin' Dots are. I wish they would have, just listened to me saying, hey, this is ridiculous. Your prices are too high. Make it affordable. Because, I feel like the future's heading in a place where it's the more affordable ice cream is, that's the ice cream people are going to be going with. That's the future we're heading towards. So, nowadays I'm consuming Breyers, Edie's, the cheaper stuff, the stuff that's usually BOGO at Publix. That's what we're going for. It's never Dippin' Dots. It's like, that's the ice cream of the past in my mind. And so, I did receive some free Dippin' Dots from Dippin' Dots at the time, which was cool. But all I could think was, dang, I wish I said like something like a Ferrari, because my Ford Taurus out back is not cooking as good as it used to be. So it was just a lot of fun. They're asking, hey, what was going on during that time? And, I can't really say exactly what's going on because, in my head as a relief pitcher, there's a lot of demons coming out, a lot of negative thoughts, which no one wants to hear about. They want to hear about the fun stuff, the good stuff. So I was like, we'll give them a taste of the good. What was positive from this? What helped move us in the right direction, and what helped us stay loose out there? And honestly, thinking about ice cream really got me through it, because I was like, dang, it's hot as nuts here in South Carolina. It was like a climate I had never seen. It was like every time you stepped outside, it was like you were walking into a bowl of chicken noodle soup. So hearing about something cool and refreshing, I was like, yeah, no, sign me up. That works.
Dude,
I don't have a
Columbia's
question to
hot
follow that
place.
up. I just want to say, one day, please write a book.
If I ever figure out how to read, I got you.
Visual learner, Steve. He's a visual.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Lots of illustrations. Lots of illustrations.
I like it. Well, hey, through the first 3 or 4 weekends of the season there, we're going to get into the Sun Belt and Coastal, but just quick landscape. I know y'all are big about mid-major baseball, and we were talking about before we came on in the teal room, right? We don't have a green room. We have a teal room before we come on. And as we talk backstage before the show. But you're in the media that is very biased towards what I would consider mid-major or non-P4 baseball. What are you seeing already in the first few weekends that you're like, yes, this is a mid-major type of year?
I personally, I've kind of strayed away from thinking of the word mid-major, because anytime I use that,
Thank you. We talked about
Thank
it.
you.
And personally, when I'm saying mid-major, I'm thinking about, this is a school that they don't get the same investment from the university in terms of like, okay, we look at a school that, is in the Power Five. They're going so far into debt to pay for these kids to play shortstop. And it's like, what are you doing? That's a poor financial decision. But when I think about Sun Belt baseball, I really think about, like, saying Power Four just sounds dumb to me. Like, in the sense of, there are more than 4 good baseball conferences. And I'm thinking about the best baseball conferences, I'm thinking about the Sun Belt a lot more often than I'm thinking about some of the schools that are in the P4. So for me, I think this is one of those years where a lot of people, I learned in 2016 how hard it is to play baseball in the Sun Belt, how competitive it is. Because I was getting dog walked with my friends at Appalachian State. And, I had a 4 ERA, and I was like, hey, look, you know what? This is a hitters conference, very good conference hitter wise. I learned that through going through the trenches. But ever since just watching like what the Sun Belt has been up to this year, I mean, you got schools like Southern Miss, you got schools like Troy who are just coming out for people's necks. And everyone's like, oh, well, it's the midweek games. Like, no one's paying attention to those. People are paying attention to those. The committee pays attention to those. So
That's right.
Like, these are some games you should be checking out. And so I just think college baseball, oddly enough, I know with the transfer portal, there's a lot of players who get poached and they go to these bigger schools where they're offering, hey, we'll give you $100,000. I got nothing wrong with players taking that. I'm all for players getting paid and things like that. I think I would have been a way better college baseball player if I didn't have to, close out a game and then 30 minutes later I'm delivering Taco Bell on DoorDash just to stay alive. So I'm happy to see these players getting the money, but a lot of people think, oh well, those kids are just going to get poached from these lower programs. That's not the case, because now these teams are playing with, they have the gumption of, look, this is my opportunity to prove myself against the best competition out there. And they're coming with the mindset of, I need to make a name for myself. I really need to prove myself. And, whether that be, look, I need to prove myself that way if I hit the portal this year, this school's interested in me, or whatever it may be, the competition level, like just the talent overall, I feel like it's been ticked up a notch. Like every school has guys throwing 95. I remember at Scout Day my freshman year at App State, one of our relief pitchers who was a junior was like, "Yeah, dude, if you just throw 93 at any point, scouts are going to be interested in you." Now it's like, oh, if you throw 93, you better locate that stuff, because that's the only way scouts are going to be interested. So just seeing the amount of talent that is in college baseball, with the draft being shortened, no longer as much with COVID giving people extra years, but now we're getting those players who had to sit behind the guys who were 25, 26, who have been eager to play, finally getting their time in the spotlight. So I feel like just, mid-major baseball, or what I consider my personal power five, because I can make up my own terms. I'm at that point in my life where, whatever in my head is reality for me. So seeing these teams and programs just being able to go out and compete, even though, the university might not be investing as much compared to what these other schools are doing, which I don't necessarily think it's great that schools are going into massive amounts of debt to fund a baseball team, considering only one team is going to win the College World Series. So it's only a really winning strategy for one team, whoever that might be. But I love seeing that these guys, what I love about the Sun Belt is that's where you really get that chip on your shoulder of, like, these are guys who not only feel they are good enough to compete at that higher power for or whatever level, but for whatever reason they didn't get the attention, they didn't get that offer from those schools, so they're coming to these schools and going, hey, look, this is where I'm at and this is where I'm bought in, and we're going to go kick some tail while we're here. And I think that's just so much fun. I really think that's good for the game. I know a lot of people don't love where college sports are at right now, and I understand why people have gripes with athletes making more than their coaches are making, but that's just the nature of the beast at this point. And until someone smarter than me comes in and says, hey, look, we're going to put in some actual rules, I'm all for it. I'm all for people making these powerful teams where they can go out and compete and personally deliver an insane product to the college baseball fan. So personally, I'm more excited than ever to follow the Sun Belt this season, just because I feel like it's going to be as competitive as it's ever been.
Donkey, let's talk a little Coastal. Clearly, the storyline with the shots here earlier are the injuries, especially to the pitching staff. Right? I mean, it's been brutal. What we thought we were going to have as opposed to what's going on right now. So what are your thoughts? And then, and as far as the fan base, to keep them on the ledge, there's a long way to go. Right? Just give us your thoughts on that and how Coastal can kind of navigate these waters early.
Definitely. So with Coastal, obviously I hate seeing any guy go down to an injury. As a pitcher myself, I was blessed to avoid the injury bug till very late in my career, when my back was like, hey, look, we aren't going to hold up as good as we used to, but I'm also, getting close to 30, so understand there. But for me, while it is unfortunate that guys are going down, it's also really exciting, because you're going to get these young guys, you're going to get freshmen getting opportunities that otherwise they wouldn't be getting, which, there's a ton of value in college baseball and sitting and watching the guys who have gone through it, been through it, and had success. And you can learn a lot from watching them, but you can never learn as much as you can from just going out, getting thrown into the fire and figuring it out. So, while it is very unfortunate that these guys are going down, and I was personally stoked to see what Cam Fluke could do this season, I'm still stoked for him, because I know he's going to crush his recovery, get back to healthy, and be a phenomenal pitcher again. Like, that's something you either have it or you don't. And he certainly has proven he has it. But if it's going to happen, I want it to happen early in the season. That way we can, throw the younger guys out into that fire and see what we're going to get out of them. Because, in recruiting, a lot of guys, there'll be, this is our bullpen. This is what I look like in a bullpen session. You can look as crisp as you want in a bullpen, but as soon as you get punched in the face, as soon as you get a ground out and your shortstop makes an error or whatever it may be, we need to see how you're going to respond to that. And I'd much rather figure that out in February than finding that out, late in May when we really need you. So it's one of those things where, again, having those guys be able to step up and get those opportunities early is going to be huge. And then Coastal's offense, I feel like just offensively, this is a team, their pedigree, they're going to mash. It's just a matter of a few pieces coming together, face some really tough pitching early in the season, which baseball is unfortunately a game of failure. And so, you got guys like Colby Thorndike, who was one of the best players in junior college. He has some of the most power you're going to see out of a college athlete who, coming into the season right now, he doesn't have any home runs. That excites me in the fact that eventually it's going to get figured out. He's going to be facing those pitchers that are more his speed. He's not going to be facing guys throwing 98 miles an hour with 8 pitches every at bat once we get into the season. So being able to just kind of see what pieces are going to be able to move around and fill in. And, there are plenty of other guys other than Colby already performing in this lineup and a lot of reasons to be excited. So again, while it may not be the start to the season that Coastal was looking for, it's hard to be that team that, came runners up in the College World Series and just hits the ground running next year. But there are a ton of guys on this roster from last season who have that experience. They have that, gumption in themselves of, look, I played in the College World Series, which unless you were on one of the 8 other teams that were there, you don't have that. That's something I have. And there's a lot of pride in that, a lot of confidence that rolls with that. So as they're playing, I know this weekend will be ECU and then next weekend will be App State. That confidence will certainly show. And I think that's something that's going to be really fun to see come out for the Shawns.
So what do you see happening as we get closer to the Coastal ECU weekend series coming up? Because we're excited about ECU every time we get to play them in anything. It's a developing rivalry, we feel like, on the Coastal side of things. It's a good team to match up with because they're a lot like us when it comes to how we sit in South Carolina versus how they sit in North Carolina. So what do you see happening with Coastal versus ECU?
Honestly, I love these matchups because I feel like it's 2 programs with just phenomenal fan bases in the sense of it's fans that, they aren't going to get upset at things that casuals of college baseball are going to be upset about. Like if a call doesn't go their way, they're going to be like, all right, whatever, we're going to find a way to make it go our way. So this is one of the rivalries I'm always very excited for because, again, it's just 2 teams that are absolutely at each other's necks. And when these 2 teams are playing, I feel like you can throw out everything that's happened following up to this in the season and series because, again, the teams are just they have that chip on their shoulder of, look, I'm not just trying to prove Coastal's a better team or ECU's a better team, but I'm trying to represent my state in this interstate mix. And North Carolina, just college baseball wise, North Carolina and South Carolina, I feel like those are really the epicenter of college baseball, in my opinion. You just have so many different college teams that are all playing at a high level. So seeing these 2 go back and forth at it, it just makes me think that we need something where it's like, look, all the South Carolina schools are playing each other, all the North Carolina schools are playing each other. And then somehow we have this organized that whoever does the best in those outings play each other. I would love to see something like that. And that's what this series makes me think because, on ECU's side of things, you got guys like Ethan Norby, who he's not necessarily off to the start he had last season, but he has that potential. He's a solid pitcher. And I feel like this is one of those series where it's really what you see in this series is what you have. It's the top of, how am I trying? It's the ceiling of the talent level of like, look, we can perform that high. Now it's just a matter of bringing that energy and bringing that intensity every weekend. And personally, like one thing I love is when teams play what I call the divorced parents holiday series, which is, hey, we're going to play one in my home, one at your home, one in the middle. I couldn't really think of a good baseball field between ECU and Myrtle Beach, just because it's like, look, there. Yeah, I used to live in Southport. It's a lot of not much over there. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. There's not many great baseball fields, so it's like maybe we're playing Wilmington. Where would we play that neutral site? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe somewhere where a lot of the alums are living. But it's one of those series where I feel like just with how good these fan bases are, if I'm getting chirped by Coastal, I would love for my team to be able to go and get chirped by ECU fans as well. Because again, it's just two great fan bases and two great programs going at it.
This Chili's mom mic better. Is that better? Better. I find it interesting that East Carolina comes in at 9-5-1. Still interesting that they tied versus North Carolina in that series. That was a peculiar situation. But both programs coming to this weekend 9-5. Do we? And I'm gonna kind of go around. I'll start with you, Donkey, and go around the room here. Is this the series? Is this the series that we look back on 3 weeks from now? And the trajectory from one of these two teams, we look back and go, this series is the launch pad for this, right? That you wonder if this is what starts it, because you look at both schedule. And Joe, is it better now? Is it still low? Still low? I'll get closer. Is this the series that launches the trajectory for the season where it needs to be for both these programs? Whoever takes the series.
Honestly, I think even for the team that loses a series, I think, for the team that wins, it's okay. We have that confidence. We have that pride of we came into a series where, we took down a tough opponent that was at our necks. But even more so, even if the series gets dropped for whichever team it gets dropped for, because that's the way baseball goes, I don't believe in ending in ties. I would have played soccer if I believed in that sort of thing. But I did not like running or kicking. I liked using my arms because I was born with them. Might as well use them. But either way, I digress. That's neither here nor there. But I think this is one of those series where even if the series gets dropped, whichever team it gets dropped for, it's going to be that kind of kick in the butt of, okay, I need to figure things out. I need to get things rolling, or just that kind of wake up call where everybody says, look, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And I think this could be that punch in the face, but it could also be that thing where it's like, look, we've played to our ability. We've shown, hey, we're a very good baseball program. We have this talent. We have the capability to be a really good team, especially in a high stakes situation. So I think that's one of the things that's one of the reasons I'm just so excited for this series, is because as fans, we're going to get to see really what these teams are about. We're going to get to see kind of that chip on the shoulder and just that edge of, look, I didn't like that, so we're going to learn how teams are responding. So again, that's one of the reasons I love these interstate matchups, or just these big time rivalries where the fan bases are at each other's necks, because I know my Twitter feed will be absolute chaos all weekend from just ECU fans and Coastal fans going back and forth, which, don't get me wrong, I love that. That's one of my favorite things. That's how you know a series is big. So I'm just really excited to see kind of where these teams, not only see how the series pans out, but exactly what you're talking about, just seeing how this series will be a launch pad for both these programs.
If it isn't necessarily this weekend, Donkey, as a former player, as you went through the season, what was the point of the season? What might have been a date, end of March, early April, mid-April? What were you looking at as a player, and whatever teams you played on? When was the point that you got together and said, okay, we need to be clicking now? This is the point of the season where if we're going to make a run, it has to start here.
So, believe it or not, my freshman year, I didn't even actually know teams didn't make the postseason. I didn't realize we weren't going to make the postseason until about May. I wasn't really necessarily locked in. I was focused on just surviving and doing my best. So freshman year, Steve has no clue what to tell you. But if come late March, early April, things are still a little off, I would say that's when you need to really have that team meeting, everybody in the locker room of, okay, let's get together. We're all good at baseball. We've all gotten scholarships to play at the Division I level. We all have the skill set. Why are we not clicking? What do we need to do? Do we all need to, just go out and have a night where, as a team, we're team bonding and having a great time together and just forget about how bad we're doing on the baseball field? Or do we need to have one of those practices where we're waking up at 6 a.m., conditioning ourselves and, having it come from the team side of things? That's kind of when I would say the latest you can do it, if you're winning 1 out of 3 every weekend, is mid-April. That's when we did it at UVA, and we were like, "Hey, wait a minute, we're good baseball players. Let's go to the College World Series." And then everybody was like, "Oh yeah, no, let's do that. That sounds way more fun." And we fortunately made our way into the postseason and somehow did well enough in the ACC tournament that they were like, "Hey, come play." And then we went to South Carolina, and they kind of hosted a regional, or I guess ODU hosted it, but it was at South Carolina. Very confusing year, and things can click. So for us, I remember we had a series down at Georgia Tech where we got beat on Friday night, and Coach Oak was like, "Hey guys, you're gonna have a very nice summer and a very long summer if you keep playing like this. So figure it out." And we figured it out quite quickly because we knew it'd be miserable for the remaining 2-3 months of the season if we didn't. So I would say kind of around that late March, early April, you can sneak it into late April if you're winning a little bit of your games, just enough games. But I would not recommend waiting that long. I would say kind of lock in a little bit before then. But, as you're knocking out that non-conference play, there's so many moving pieces. There's so many pieces where it's like, okay, in this situation, coach might pinch hit a freshman, might, try out one of our transfers just to see what we have. So I understand, like, hey, look, we might drop a close midweek, we might drop a close early season non-conference game, but what's important in those games is, did the program learn something? Is there something we can build off of from that game? That way next week we aren't losing that game. Next time, we put a freshman or a transfer in off the bench, that kid's locked in and ready to go, because that's how that kid is going to earn his spot in the lineup every day.
Mm-hmm.
And once everyone has that kind of understanding and that buy-in, that's when teams really can click, especially in college baseball. Like, I'm a firm believer that in baseball in general, if you have enough delusion, you can make it pretty far. Because I was not skilled. I'll be the first to tell you, I was not that good at baseball. But in my brain, and still in my brain, I could roll out of bed, throw 90 with sink, and get outs right now, because I have that delusion. I've always had that delusion. Would it be exactly 90? Probably 80. But still, if that belief is there and that confidence can come through, that can take you so far in baseball, because it's a game of failure. People are going to get bogged down. The process will kick you in the nuts a million times. And, with baseball, sports where you just got to go, "Thank you, baseball. Thank you for kicking me in the nuts. I will be better for it." And so, you get those nuts kicked out early non-conference games. That's the best thing you could be doing in baseball.
I was not prepared for a motivational speech tonight. I appreciate that. So I want to pencil you down for something. I've got pen in hand. I've got my sticky notes here. I need you to tell me right now who's going to Omaha this year.
Oh,
jeez.
Hey, you put this on your other podcast, man. Y'all did the snake. I listened to that one. You did the whole snake draft and all that. Y'all had, that was pretty good.
It's a phenomenal question. I got to go with UVA because I'm a massive homer, and their jersey's on my wall, so I want to see it in Omaha. They got new jerseys. The font's way smaller. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but I'm going with UVA for my first one. Arkansas. I don't know why, but I feel like Arkansas, they're going to put it together. It's going to be a good year for them. Texas, Texas is playing like they're a Major League Baseball program right now. You guys know that. Rigor Riojas is just like, he's dripping with swag. He's got so much he's got that delusional confidence, but he throws 95 to 98. So it's like, okay, maybe you should be confident. So I got UVA. I think Duke. I think Duke is going to be really good. I think they'll surprise a lot of people. Will they make it to Omaha? Yeah, I'll say so. Yeah, I'll go Duke. These is, how many teams was that? That's 4.
That's 4 so far.
4. All right, cool. We got good counting going on. 4. Oklahoma is another team where it's just like, okay, this team has been playing out of their minds, and there are a lot of guys on Oklahoma's pitching staff, especially where I've just been waiting for it to click for them, and they've gone through the trials and tribulations, so I'm confident in them. Uh, Southern Miss, it's hard to not say Southern Miss just after how they've been playing. I feel like they're a very resilient ball club, and just every game they're never really out of it, which makes them really exciting to watch. So I believe that's 6. Oh gosh, UCLA's just
I was
got
gonna
way
say
too
you got to
many
go
guys.
West Coast, man. They're playing
Like
ball out there.
Will Gasparino does not let you throw baseballs and not hit them over the fence, which is amazing to watch. So that will be my 7th, and then I'll go Coastal. I'll happily go
Okay.
Coastal. I know there's a lot of injuries right now, but hey, I'm on a Coastal podcast. Why not go with them? But also, the freshmen I've seen step up have really stepped up, and especially doing that early in the season against really tough opponents. And people might not love to hear this, but not getting run ruled by really good programs is something that I love to see. And being able to hold that Texas baseball lineup the way Coastal did, I was really impressed with that. And I think that's something that, that resilience on the mound can take you really far into the postseason as well. So, even in my days back when we made it far into Omaha, it was because we had 3 starting pitchers that did really well, but behind that we had a third baseman who delivered 5 shutout innings for us. We had a sophomore who had I think he had like 17 innings going into the postseason. He delivered like 6 shutout innings against South Carolina for us. And it's like, when you have that kind of depth and that kind of amount of guys who can step up for you, that's when things really click. And I feel like Coastal, while the injuries do absolutely suck, and if I could do anything in the world, if I had 3 wishes from a genie, 2 of them would be for a lot of money, and the third would be that no one ever gets injured on a baseball field. But when those injuries happen and you see those guys step up, especially early in the season, then it's, come later on in the season, it's not, oh, this is a freshman on the mound. It's like, yeah, he might be a freshman, but he's got the experience of a sophomore because he's been thrown in that fire. He's been through it. And I think that's just so beneficial. And then, I haven't even gotten into the lineup. The lineup's insane. So you have guys who can absolutely mash. It hasn't necessarily clicked on all cylinders yet, I would say. And they're still doing really well on the baseball field. Like the record at 7-5, or I don't know if my stats are updated, but their record's good. They're winning ball games. It's just a matter of, okay, we've had a few punches thrown in our face. We have to respond to them. Sometimes, that ends up being a loss in the loss column. But at the end of the day, Kevin Schnall's not going to let these guys walk away from a baseball game and not take something from it, whether that be a win or a learn thing. And I think, each loss is just, okay, we're learning a lot about this ball club. And it's not necessarily, oh, we got dog walked. Like, I've been part of losses like that. My very first college baseball game was against Coastal Carolina. We lost 17-3. I wouldn't still be talking about college baseball if I didn't learn something that game. I gave up 2 earned runs, but I struck out the side. And in my head, I just struck out the side in my debut. I didn't give up 2 runs. So being able to have that delusional confidence along with just being able to learn from those situations is something that'll take a ball club a really long way.
Well, Donkey, we appreciate you coming by and spending time with us because you've had a lot of really good insight, and we appreciate you spending time with us. I love the way you put things together when it comes to just how you express what your thoughts are when it comes to college baseball. And I'm going to take this sticky note right here. You can see it. I've written them all down,
Big
guys.
Donkeys,
I even put
Omaha.
the date
There we go.
right here.
Nice.
So on the Strut Podcast X account, later this evening, I'm going to put out the Big Donkey Omaha prediction that includes Coastal. Joe and TD, I think what I might do is when I put this thing out with the picture, I might just go ahead and do at UVA and at Arkansas, at Texas, so they all get a chance to see it.
There you go.
Coming from the Strut Podcast, they should listen to what our new friend of the show has to say about their program, right?
Absolutely.
I think they should. Mississippi State's probably going to be a little bit upset with me, but that is what it is.
Well, you seem
Forgot.
to enjoy controversy, so I think you're okay with
I do.
that.
I do. It's fun. It's fun. If anything, give them bulletin board material because I love Coach Oak. I love them all down there. So I want them to do well too. And I would be more than happy to be wrong about them being there.
And as I said, that's most of your some of your UVA crowd, right? That went down there. Is that right?
Yeah, we got some good friends. No one I played with, but we
Correct.
have a brother of someone I played with, Kyle Teal's brother, Aiden Teal. He had the flu against Southern Miss, unfortunately. So hopefully he's feeling better. I hope he's recovered. The white
Man.
blood cells have done what white blood cells do. I watched Cosmos Jones recently, so that's how I know that. But again, Mississippi State might be a little bit upset with me, but I think they got a good shot at it too. So 9 teams. There's my official 9.
I'm not putting 9 teams down. I got to hold
That's
you to
fine.
8.
Hey,
That's
he's Jack
fine.
Sparrow, man. 9 pieces of 8, right? He says 9 pieces of 8.
I love
Very
it.
good.
I love it. Jack Sparrow rocks. God, I'm thinking so much about pirates. I might need to go watch pirate movies.
Well, I hope you don't think about them too much because we're playing them this weekend.
I was gonna say, man, yeah, no pirates in mine this week.
No,
Only
historical
Chanticleers.
pirates. Historical,
Okay.
different. Not the representatives that pirates send to the baseball field. I'm talking like Edward Teach, where we're going to Blackbeard. We're going to the historical side of pirates.
There
I
you
can
go.
appreciate that.
There you go.
Big Donkey, thanks for stopping by with us
Yeah, man,
tonight. We
appreciate
appreciate your time. Come back anytime and talk baseball with us because we love talking about it and hearing perspectives that are outside of coastal perspective. So, come by anytime. We have had a great time talking with you tonight.
No, thank you guys very much for having me. I'm excited for this weekend, but really just excited to see what we get out of Coastal this season. I think, despite where the injuries have been at, I see them as a bright spot because, one, you kind of just have to in college baseball. You got to be able to twist everything positively. But also, again, just that experience, it's going to help out. So I'm really excited for it. Thank you guys for having me. And I'm excited to check back in later on down the season to talk to you guys about how great those freshmen have been, how great those new guys have been.
There we go, man. We'll have you back on, man. We'll have you back on
Absolutely.
to talk about it.
Definitely. Well, thank you guys.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you, Donkey. Appreciate it, brother.
How about the big donkey stopping by the strut?
Yeah, man. I tell you what, that was dude. He's his demeanor, and then you just don't know where he's coming from.
Nope.
It's great. It's great that he doesn't know where he's going at times, but I know that somebody does and can help out Joe find where he needs to go, and that's Dan Sign, right, Joe?
That's
He's going to
exactly
tell us
right.
how
That's
he can help
exactly
us.
right, TD. That's a great man. He is on the seg game again this week. Look at him over there. He is on these segs. The Strut brought to you by Dan Sign Realtor with Dunes Realty Sales in Garden City Beach. Proud Coastal Carolina alum, class of 2001. From oceanfront condos to family homes, he's your go-to resource for Myrtle Beach real estate. Visit dansignrealtor.com. That is dansignrealtor.com. Or call 843-455-6319. That's 843-455-6319. Dan Sign, real estate done right, helping you find your place at the beach.
I will say this real quick. I saw this stat just for perspective's sake. We're 7-5. I said 9-5. Sorry, we're both 7-5. Us in East Carolina. In 2016, we were 6-6. 2017, the year after, we were 7-5. Interesting enough, through 12 games, we were 7-5. In 18, we were 9-3. 19, we were 10-2. COVID, we were 8-4. 21, we were 8-4. 22, though, we were 8-4. Or excuse me, 7-5. The reason I bring that up is from 22, 23, 24, 25, we were 7-5, 8-4, 10-2, 10-2. What's interesting though is we were 10-2 in 2024 and didn't get out of a regional. We were 8-4 in 23 and didn't get out of the regional. In 22, we were 7-5, but didn't get out of the regional. Key word there is we still got to the regionals, right? We still got to the regionals, even with a 7-5 or a 10-2 record. So I would also beg to say, if you went back and looked at those first 12 games and a few of those years, I doubt we played Actually, I'm very confident we did not play the 5 or 6 teams and/or probably 7 teams that we have had to play this year, and with the injury. So it is perspective, right?
Mhm.
It is perspective. I'm usually one that has to kind of get a little tug every now and then. I get it, but
Little
even
tug, Joe.
that,
You hear
little
that,
tug,
right?
little tug, little tug. But all perspective is you can go 10-2, make World Series, or you can go 10-2 and lose out in a regional. You can go 7-5 or 6-6 and make it to Supers or make it to Omaha. Last thing is, I find it interesting. I wanted to bring it up. He said that they had a series at Georgia Tech that turned you caught that?
I
Yeah, I
caught
was
that.
wondering what
I
you
was
caught
about
that.
I was about to jump
Go
in and
ahead,
say, you
yeah.
know what? I know another team that
Yeah.
took a little bit of a thumping at Georgia Tech and learned some lessons and turned
Learned
that
some
into a
lessons.
national championship.
And that's funny that he said the same thing happened to him. I think they lost. He said they lost 2 out of 3 down there. And it was like, boys, we might want to do something here. Or like, we're going to have a long summer. And then literally from that series, I Googled it. From that series, they had a tremendous run like we did to get to the World Series. And I just thought that was very interesting that it happened at Georgia Tech.
I caught that too. Yes.
Yeah, and the next game's coming up. We talked about the weekend series with East Carolina coming up at our place Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's a midweek game on Tuesday at home against Wake Forest, and then we are hitting the road for the first conference weekend series at App State. So that's some big games coming up for Coastal baseball too. So now might be that time where we see the turnaround begin to happen. I know, guys, maybe I'm crazy, but I did see some positive things while they were in Texas. I know the Texas game did not look good if you just look at the plain score, but Big Donkey had a good point. Texas is one of those teams. They're playing like a Major League Baseball team right now. They're
They
playing
look like a
good
damn Major League
baseball.
Baseball team.
Um,
God almighty.
UTSA is a good baseball team. Ole Miss is a good baseball team. Y'all saw the people tweeting out like what the RPI looked like for those 3 teams we were facing. It was a good test for us coming out of that, going into playing NC State, another good baseball program, and then seeing the new familiar old rival of East Carolina coming up with someone we've seen before who's a national power in Wake Forest. This might be that crucible our team needs to go through and suffer a little bit to realize, hey, we can have success against these better teams. However, we've got to get our house in order.
I like what I saw yesterday. I mean, yesterday at NC State was not a bad loss by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, we ran out 3 freshman pitchers to start that game, and those guys kept us in it. Our offense, Barthol came through yesterday, right? I mean, we had guys that came through. Unfortunately, we ran into one hot bat. That McHugh kid, I mean, he crushed 2 and almost knocked a third out. I wish, pitched to him and we pitched to him late and he beats us. But I mean, that was one guy that got hot and beat us. But I mean, I thought a lot of positives came out of yesterday. I really do, even though it was a loss 6-4. A lot of positives. And I agree with you, Chili. There were things that we brought back from Texas that weren't all that bad at all. Right. And so maybe this weekend is kind of, we'll continue that, and the bats will, kind of continue to turn things around like I think they started to out there.
You also saw too that we were talking before we started recording with Donkey. It was a 4-1 game in the 7th to Texas, right? Against literally probably arguably one of the top 2 or 3 pitchers in the country, minus Fluky. Like, that kid's good. That kid is first round, probably real quick through the minors. Take him about 2.5 seasons, and he is pitching on a big league roster someday, right? Like, I'm not doing that to make us feel better. That kid's going to do what he did to us to a lot of people this year, right? I mean, let's just call that what it is. Look, you got to tip your cap to him, but it was a 4-1 game. Let's not forget that Jones held Texas to 3 runs, 2 home runs. I get that. But other than that, Jones held Texas to 3 runs. Period. Like, that ain't bad. UTSA, man, it just was ugly from the start, and then somehow we got hot and scored 10 runs and made that game look better than it was. But we just flat out got our butts kicked. Flat out, top to bottom. You got to own it when it happens. We got our ass kicked. But then we turn back around and we beat Ole Miss. And Ole Miss is a top 40, 45 ball club, right? This is not a terrible win there. And Joe, to your point, we go to NC State, we lose 6-4. They had the highest scoring offense in the country, scoring 13.8 runs a game, batting like 415 as a team. Let that sink in. 415 as like a team. It's bananas. And 3 freshmen held them, for the most part, to 4 runs until we gave it up late, right? Again, I don't like moral victories, but you also have to take stock in. Again, this is me being perspective. You have to take stock in. Chili, great point. Are we going through this early crucible? So we're having to do this. So if, Lord willing, we do get Fluky back, right? We do get Johnson back, maybe in April, if we're lucky. We're in a position where all of a sudden you insert those guys. How about shout out to Scotty Doran? How about that start on Sunday, right? Let's talk about it.
Is he a weekend guy? Is he a weekend guy now? Is he a weekend guy? I think he's got to be a weekend guy now. I think he's moving in there. And you know what do we do on Saturday?
How about spectacles, man?
You know, Darren Horn pitched his tail off. I love what Darren Horn's brought this year so far. But is Doran? He's a guy now. I think he's a guy. So
you got to put him on the weekend. In my humble assessment,
I think so too.
He showed me enough where he went in and he kept Ole Miss to 1 run in 6 2/3 or 6 1/3, something like that. And so Jonesy's your Friday guy. Doran's your Sunday guy. We got to figure out Saturday. With TD, we got a Saturday guy. I'm going to be honest with you. We got about 1 or 2 more Saturdays with our Saturday guy to go out and do some things. He's got the stuff, right? Matt Williams talked about that a little bit. He's got the stuff. It just is, for whatever reason, he's just not – it's not clicking for him.
Hadn't clicked.
It hadn't clicked. It hadn't clicked. Now, if it does, all of a sudden you look up, you got Jones, Norman, and Doran, and then if you get a Fluky and a Johnson back, more so even a Johnson before a Fluky, do you look at those guys and say, guys, we don't necessarily need you as a starter. We need you as our number 1 and number 2 bullpen guy. What happens if that narrative comes into play? Do you get these freshmen and sophomores who've had to pitch a good bit? Shout out to them. You get these guys back at the appropriate time, maybe late April, to Donkey's point. Maybe we get them before the 1st of May. I don't know anything that nobody else does. I'm just hoping and wishing. But you look up a month from now and you're like, all right, wait a minute. We've held our own. Never know what happens. We got to have somebody step up on Saturday, and that's we got to figure out Saturday, man. Right now, is it spectacles? I find it interesting that they let him go 4 2/3. That was his longest outing to see where he could get to. My humble assessment is, do they let him go 1 or 2 more times like that in preparation? That if we don't have a Saturday guy, do you elevate him to your Saturday guy and drop Norman back to a week guy? I'm just saying. It's a thought.
There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions because
it's not unfair. It's not unreasonable to assess that.
And one thing we were talking about in our text messages back and forth is you got all these new ingredients to things that are going on, and we don't know what's going to happen and how people are going to respond. I'm not going to call it a time of crisis, but it is a time of emergency to kind of get adjusted and readjust and recalibrate. So I think we're at a point right now that once we get some things calibrated, some things a little more set in stone, I do believe we'll begin to piece together those wins that Schnall talks about and have those victories and, kind of compound. You get one, you can get a second one and kind of work your way that way. So I think there's some pieces of the puzzle beginning to come together. Just my personal opinion, because Joe, like you were saying about how they played in Texas and who they saw, I think there's some positives coming out of that from some of the young guys that we did see.
Mm-hmm. No question. It was not a lost cause out there by any stretch.
We cut our teeth pretty good. I'll add this. I think there was a new football coach at Coastal made this quote, and I'm going to repeat what he says, but pertain it to baseball as we wrap this up going into basketball. You better get us right now, because when we do figure it out, and to Donkey's point, he made some good points. Like, when this lineup, we know this lineup can hit. When we figure this pitching rotation out, and this lineup starts to get a few games in a row where they start barreling balls up, you better get us now. That's all I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as one season is just getting going, we're talking about baseball. Joe and TD, another season for Coastal came to an end today, and that was women's basketball, excuse me, as they fell in the Sun Belt tournament today to South Alabama 80-70. One stat that came out I read from GoCCUSports.com. Kristen Williams in her final Coastal game led the shots with 16 points. Grimes had a double double with 14 points and 12 rebounds. As a team, Joe and TD, the ladies shot 40% from the field, 33% from long range, and made 11 of 24 free throw attempts. Now, I know they hear the outcome. They also know the other story that's going on with this game, and I want to read a couple of quotes, one from Chance Miller, one from Coach Pedersen, in regards to the fracas that happened during the game today. And I'll just kind of read these directly. If we want to talk about it, cool. But uh, Chance Miller said today, "We are extremely disappointed in the actions of one of our women's basketball student athletes and program during today's Sun Belt Conference tournament game. The behavior displayed does not represent the standards and expectations of Coastal Carolina athletics. On behalf of our department, I want to apologize to the game officials, University of South Alabama, and the Sun Belt Conference. What occurred is not reflective of how our programs are expected to compete or represent CCU. We take great pride in the way our student athletes and coaches represent this university and Teal Nation. Moments like this fall short of that responsibility, and we will address the situation internally moving forward." First off, all the best to the referee who got the worst end of everything today. I really sincerely hope he's okay because it did not look good when he was on the floor there.
Oh, was it a he or she? I thought it was a she.
I
that
don't
got hit.
honestly. It was a she.
Yeah, it was a lady that got hit.
Well, the angle I saw was it starts and then it cuts to the baseline shot, the one that everybody sees, and then I can't tell because for me, I watch it on social media on my phone, very small screen, so I couldn't really tell exactly what happened. I know it was a Coastal player that hit the official. Am I wrong on saying that?
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay. I've got one more quote from Coach Pedersen, and then we can kind of put a bow on this if y'all want to move on here to men's hoops.
Interesting
Coach
development,
Pedersen,
though, real quick, man. Have you seen the South Alabama press release? I just read this. Go ahead and read ours.
I have not seen it. Let me do Pedersen. You can
Go
read
ahead,
South
do
Al.
that, man. This is a very interesting perspective from an AD that I think really overstepped.
Coach Pedersen said, "We regret the actions that took place during today's Sun Belt Conference tournament game. In no way does what occurred reflect the core values or day-to-day mission of the women's basketball program as we hold our student athletes to the highest standards both on and off the court. The actions today don't reflect those standards, and we plan to address that quickly." TD, you had South Alabama perspective on this one.
Yeah, forgive me. I literally, while we were sitting here tweeting or not tweeting, what we're talking, I was refreshing and literally from Director of Athletics, Joel Erdman. I'm not going to read all of it, but basically he condones the actions of the student athletes. He calls a 3 out about the ones that are suspended for the next round. But he says, oh, and this is how, shocker, this is how the paragraph that gets a little derailing starts. With that being said, and I quote, "With that being said, I'm the first to acknowledge that college basketball officials have an extremely challenging and thankless job. We are greatly concerned about the official that was injured during the game. However, with that being said, after an extensive internal review, I do not believe the actions of 3 of our student athletes rose to the level of being classified as fighting as defined by the NCAA rulebook, and the judgment has negatively impacted the tournament experience of our student athletes and stripped them of the opportunities to compete in the postseason." Dude, the video showed 2 teams fighting.
And his players that got taken out for the next game, you don't leave the bench.
You don't leave the bench, but the couple that he was talking about were in that. I know we didn't want to get into this, but but when you make a statement like that, you're like, come on, man. There's a clear video where a couple of your girls were shoving and throwing bows too.
Yeah.
Like, our girls' punch clearly knocked out the referee, which is embarrassing and disrespectful. And it, as a former student athlete and alum, I'm gonna be honest with you, that completely affects the brand and the equity of our university in the instant gratification world that we're in, right? Until the next thing happens in whatever other sport. but right now we're having to live it. But to come out and say, with that being said, these girls shouldn't have been, even though they we're not fighting. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna let the fans and the listeners decide and assess that.
He's doing what an AD does. I mean, when especially when the players he's talking about are starters and won't get to play the next game. I think that's kind of what he's having some heartburn with. Agree or disagree, I don't know. I mean, and the thing about, and I saw this tweeted out today about the fact that some of them came off the bench. Well, I mean that you're at one end of the floor, so one bench is a whole lot more prominent than the other end of the floor. No one's watching that end of the floor. See if any kids came off that bench, right? I mean, it's kind of just, there are a lot of opinions out there. It was just a terrible situation all the way around, and you hate to see, to see the season, for our team end that way, and for Coach Pedersen, you hate that it ended the way that it did. But it's bad situation all the way around. Probably should go ahead and move on.
Yep.
So let's go to men's hoops, something way more fun to talk about right now. And men's hoops, looking at the Sun Belt bracket, and first off, when you look at the Sun Belt bracket, all you can say is wow. But let's talk about, before we get into the Sun Belt play, we will be playing later in the tournament. Congrats to Coach Gray being a Ben Joby Award finalist. Congrats to Josh Beadle on being the Sun Belt Newcomer of the Year. And to AJ Dantzler being named Player of the Week for the second time this season. So some postseason awards well-deserved by our Chanticleer basketball team as we head into tournament play, which began today. And I think we got one on right now, Joe. The Dominion of Old and Geso are going at it.
The Dominion of Old. They trail by 3 as we go under a minute to go in Pensacola against the Geso.
So, Joe, it's basketball tournament season. One of my personal favorite times of the sports calendar when it comes to this. March is my time of year, man.
I love it too. It's just one and done, and especially the conference tournaments when you have when you have teams in some of these leagues that have just run the table, and then it's a crapshoot over the course of a few days, right? I mean, these leagues that they give the auto bid to their tournament winner instead of the regular season. And the leagues do that. Like they determine who goes, who gets the auto bid, and it's a great time of the year when calendar hits March. We got, daylight savings coming again this weekend. Be on a golf course, basketball going on, baseball cranking up. Man, it's a great time of year. Great time.
Well, your Chanticleers, Joe. So save all that because we got a basketball game coming up on Saturday. They'll be playing Saturday approximately 9 p.m. Eastern time, and they've got the winner of South Alabama versus the winner of Game 6. You might want to get your slide rule out to figure out how this bracket tournament looks. Is it a waterfall, Joe? It's like Pac-Man in reverse. I don't know how to describe what this bracket exactly looks like. There it is.
I don't know if you can kind of see it. It looks like a goalpost, honestly.
Joe, did you have to print that on legal? 8x14 page, man.
Hamburger or hot dog?
This thing is what it's what the coaches wanted. It's what the coaches wanted several years ago when, you had some teams that, won the league, and then, it wound up being some other, the way it was set, it was situated, 8, 9 teams got a day off before they got it, to play a top seeded team. And the coaches screamed about that. And so now they've gone to this. They've gone to this, 7 games in 7 days if you're an 11 through 14 seed. And I tweeted this out that there's no reason for the 11 through 14 to even be there. Now, nope. I know I'm understanding that there's an agreement with the Sun Belt that they made with Pensacola, that every team would be there to participate for whatever reason. This is in a contract apparently. So
accommodations.
It's ridiculous to have the 11 through 14s there because you're not winning 7 games in 7 days. You just aren't. In the history of college basketball, can either one of you tell me this? How many teams have even won 5 games in 5 days to win a conference tournament?
Syracuse back in like Boeheim's day in the Big East, I think did something similar to that.
You're close. You're in the right. You're in the right conference that used to be.
Was it Syracuse or was it? I'm not far off because I remember something.
You're not
like
far
this
off
happened.
because this team probably played Syracuse and beat
or
them.
maybe they played them. Maybe it was they played them. I remember something. Maybe it was like Syracuse had won like 3 in 3 days, but the other team had done that. It wasn't Georgetown.
There are two teams in the history of college basketball, men's college basketball, that have won as many as 5 games in 5 days to go to the NCAA tournament.
It's definitely the Big East. I know that.
One of them's a Big East team, and the other one is a little bit closer.
Was it Marquette?
No.
Now we're not Googling this, so you know this is legit.
And actually, you're not Googling it. But both teams, I'll give you this: both teams eventually made the Final Four, and one team won the national championship.
Villanova.
UConn is correct. UConn in 2011 is correct.
Played Syracuse. I remember that was like this big deal because one had won 3 or 4 games, and the other one, like it was something. Both of them came out the lower end of the bracket in the Big East, and that's right.
UConn in 2011 ran the table in the Big East, went to the Big East or went to the NCAA tournament, won the national championship. Now the other one did it just 2 years ago.
You said closer to us.
Yeah.
In the ACC tournament?
Yes. We're getting warmer. We're getting warmer.
Is that NC State?
TD is on his basketball trivia tonight. 2 years ago,
NC
State beat North Carolina in the ACC tournament championship, and that team went to the Final Four.
That's right.
So
they had that big guy playing in the middle. Remember him?
Number 30. They had big number 30. He just rooted everybody out of there. They pitched it to him and he laid it in. For about 3 weeks, he did that. That kid, amazing. Yep. So anyway, back to what I was talking about before I got sidetracked.
That's 5.
Yeah.
That's 5 and 5.
Yeah.
5 and 5. So you're not winning 7 in 7 days. My guess is by the time we get to Saturday night at 9:00, it'll be Coastal in South Alabama. That's my guess right now. Or if it's not South Alabama, it's going to be Ark State, the winner of the South Al Ark State game, and that could go either way, So, and I'm just ecstatic. Coastal got the number 3 seed out of this deal, and how that happened, the league never explained. A 6-way tie for second, but it was crazy, the whole thing. But congrats.
Speaking of seeding, Joe, I went back and I looked at GoCCUSports.com again to get some info on this one. And I was reading, is the title of the article was, us finishing in the 3rd spot in the conference heading into the tournament. And I didn't realize this, but do y'all remember where we were picked by the coaches to be?
I do.
At the end of the year?
I do. We were preseason 13, man. We were preseason 13. I don't know how Justin Gray's not coach of the year in the league. And I get that Scott Cross has done a great job at Troy. A couple of these other guys have done a great. I don't know how Justin Gray's not coach of the year. We're 13th, and we wound up in a 6-way tie for second. We won 19 games and won 10 last year, for Pete's sake.
Dude, if he wins
10 and 22 last year,
we're a 20 wins. We're a 20-win team.
I know.
20-win team. And correct me if I'm wrong, historically, if you win the regular season, that's usually a chance for you to get into the NIT. But if not, if you're one of your top 2 or 3 seeded teams, you can get your championship game. You also could potentially vie for an NIT selection. And 20 games or better was the watermark. That's historically been some, not guarantees, but
it will be interesting. That's a great point, TD. It will be interesting to see, if obviously the tournament winners going to the NCAA tournament, who else? And it's one bid league. I mean, there will be no other at large, into the NCAA tournament. But who can get to the NIT, perhaps? Right? I mean, I think that's a great point. I mean, if Coastal maybe can, if let's say we win 2 and lose the championship, do we have a shot at the NIT at that point? That'd be awesome.
Why not?
If we did.
We're 21. We're
a hot team too. We're still hot, man. We're hot.
Let's say you lose the championship game. Coach Gray, I know you listen sometimes. Hope you win it, brother. Look, we do.
Absolutely hope they win.
Absolutely hope you win it. But worst case scenario, we make the championship game and we're 21 and what's the final record then? It'd be 21 and
What are we, 19 and 12? We're 19 and 12 right now.
So we'd be 21 and 13. I wonder what our net rating would be, or whatever that is now.
We're still in the 200s in the net, so that's not
really.
Yeah,
that's
that's a roadblock.
That's a roadblock.
That's a roadblock. But
either way, we should be an NIT considered team. How about that?
Considered,
we should be a
absolutely.
team considered. Don't know if we get in. Chile just made an early exit, like one of the early teams in the Sun Belt.
What is he? One of these 11 through 14 seeds?
He must be
already out or something. He's already out of this thing. What's going on,
Joe? I'll tell you what, though. You know why he left the pod just now, right? He was thirsty, and he needed you to go down to your neighborhood market store and pick up some Savannah sweet tea, man. Tell us about where we can get it.
Well, I tell you what, I can pick up one off my table here right beside me. But Savannah Sweet Tea Company, Low Country born, Low Country made sweet peach and unsweetened tea available now, brewed hot with pure cane sugar, just like Mama made it. Visit www.savsweetteaco.com, www.savsweetteaco.com. That's a heck of a Earl right there. And use code SHANTSUP for 10% off your order. These are delicious.
Dude, they are awesome, man. That peach tea.
Only one I got left. I need some more, but I saved this for my prop.
Oh,
Savannah
man.
Sweet Tea is awesome. And I got a couple back up here behind.
You got to come back. Yeah, but you got to have those for the show,
Yeah.
man. Got to have those for the show.
So do we
know that we've
do we know where Chili went, by the way?
We don't know. I think he must have went. He's gonna go put his pirate outfit on. But I tell you what, man, we've covered baseball. I just to recap it real quick, man. We got a really quality opportunity this weekend, man, to take 2 out of 3, be 9-6, and really turn the corner. I just got a good feeling, man. This is a good weekend to do it. Get the juices flowing. Be back at home, play well. Women's season's over with. Men have a golden opportunity. Hey, you know what? We're 2 games away from not even having to worry about NIT, baby. Right? We got to win 2 or 3. 3.
3. And
we got to win 3.
That's very doable.
3 games in 3 days.
I'm excited, man. I tell you, this team
man.
This team is fun. I mean, watching them beat James Madison the other night. I mean, that it was so glorious to finally. Do you know that beating them the other night, that was the first time in either football or men's basketball that we've beaten James Madison. And if you watch the game the other night, we took control early in the second half and kind of had it all the way through. And then late in the game, Madison made a couple of threes. And I'm just sitting there going, they're going to steal another daggum game. I mean, like, they stole the one in Conway. We were in control of that one, and they kind of came back at the end. But, Josh Beadle said, no.
I got this.
And he pulls up at the end and hit that jumper shot, hand right in his face. I mean, and that's what I love about these guards. They can make shots contested. They can make contested shots. Dancer, Jones, and Beadle. These guys can make contested shots. And it's kind of hard to find. You got guards that can do that. You got anybody that can do that, right? I mean, anybody can stand unguarded in a gym and knock down shots. When you got somebody guarding you and closing out, hand in your face, putting pressure on you, and you can still make a shot, you make some money. And Beadle knocked down that shot. I'm like, how about that? Finally beat those guys. And that was the difference between us being a 3 and an 8 seed, as it turned out.
I tell you what, too, man. It's our unit strikes me as a unit that 3 games in 3 days is doable. But I'm on the side of watching our guys. I think getting that quarterfinal game in and getting that dub is going to be the best medicine for them to win out. And I know that sounds like they just strike me as kids that will play better. They got just enough rest, because you could also be one of those teams where you're in the semis and you haven't played for a week. And in theory, that sounds great, but if you are a basketball player who likes to stay in rhythm, especially if you're like our 3 shooters, I think getting that quarterfinal game under their belt and getting that W, I think we're going to surprise people in the semis and in the championship game. But Chile's having some technical difficulties, not TD. But I tell you what, Joe, I tell you what is not technical and what is not difficult is getting some absolute great food.
For another one, the last one here.
Absolutely great food at our favorite place over in Carolina Forest. Joe, tell them where there is no technical difficulty to get food.
Never a technical difficulty. Great food, great drink, great time, right? Hanley's Pub, CCU class of 2002, the official pub of the Strut podcast, located in Carolina Forest. We will CC you at your local pub. Hanley's in Carolina Forest, 3873 Renee Drive, Myrtle Beach. You can phone 843-903-4904. That's 843-903-4904. Hanley's, the official pub of the Strut podcast, and we will CC you there.
My wife was giving me some updates on global matters, and I told her that's another podcast for a different night. Hey, that's a little silent little, I went with the old patriotic Chauncey tonight, just to keep our servicemen and women in my hearts and our hearts and minds. Speaking of someone else, keeping our hearts and minds, college football world, college sport world lost a great soul today in Lou Holtz. Passed away today, and the world is a darker place without him in it. It really is, especially the college football world. So thoughts and prayers go out to Lou Holtz. I know that he coached at many places around the country, and every place that he coached at got better. As much as we don't like South Carolina or the school in Columbia, you got to give the man his due. When he took that program over, they were trash. They were 0-21. Well, they were 0-11. He took them over. I think they were 1-10, and then look, he resurrected that program back to where it could sustain some things. And again, and what he did at Arkansas, what he did at Notre Dame, man, it's just world's a darker place, but heaven's a better one with him in it. So it's thoughts and prayers go out to he and his family, his loved ones, and so. Joe, I don't have anything other than say this, man. We got a big series this weekend at home versus East Carolina. Big weekend. You got East Carolina. You got, hopefully, our boys are playing Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Is that right? The championship game is Monday?
Sunbelt Men's Basketball Championship will be Monday.
Monday, what time? Because I intend to watch it. What time are we going to play Monday for the championship?
I got both brackets sitting here. So we would play at 7:00 Eastern on Monday.
All right. On ESPN 2?
ESPN 2. Yep.
7:00
Eastern.
Are we on the Ocho?
On the Ocho. So, yeah, big baseball weekend, big men's basketball.
Big basketball weekend, man.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff going on. Our thanks to the big donkey. Stephen
Thanks
Schock
to Big Donkey
tonight. That was a great 30-35 minutes with him. So
yeah, man,
it's a big show tonight. So
never short of good color analytics, man. It's
always smiling, man. Good
always,
mood.
man.
Good mood that dude's in. Good mood. Right? So he's smiling. TD.
Well, let's hit him.
It.
Shots up.
The plane. Shots up.